How do I not fall out of practice? You can practice at home. You can practice, if you've got a phone, you can 100% practice at home. Just find scenes that you like, find scripts that you like, and just break them down and say, you know what, I'm just going to practice this 1 minute scene or something. Ellie's from New Zealand. Awesome. Can't believe how small amount of views you have. If I wouldn't have to go to bed, I would watch it. Oh, thank you. It's all right. I just went live, so. Where are you now? I'm in Australia. Sort of on the East Coast, but just like slightly inland. It's 3 a.m. here from Turkey. Don't stay up for me. If it's 3 a.m., you go to bed, all right? From Colombia. Hey, Melissa, how you doing? No worries, Ellen. Is it Ellen? Yeah. Eleni. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Colombia. How you doing, Melissa? And any other questions, I'm happy to help you guys. I'll be here for a little while and then I have to go to work. Good, and you? I'm pretty good. I hope everyone else is good too. Oh, from Sydney, nice. Well, I'm in Canberra, so not too far away, and I used to live in Sydney. Yeah, doing pretty good, Melissa, thanks. Would you say studying drama at uni is helpful for getting into the industry? It depends, but yeah, definitely. Studying drama anywhere is useful. But if you want to do it intensively at uni, that's great. Like, definitely doesn't hurt. Definitely helpful, but then again, you don't have to go to uni to study drama, or you don't have to study drama at uni to get into the industry either. But it's certainly helpful. Unknown, how you doing? Shout out to everyone here. Quick shout out. Give me a sec. Young man, Amar, Daya, Yeron, Eleni, Ole, Meryl Streep's here, and Val. Chloe, how are you doing? I'm Meryl Streep. Nice to see you, Meryl. I know it's not necessary, but do you have a preference on an acting school in Australia? No, not a preference. There's a whole bunch of good ones here. I wouldn't say one is the best or one's better than the other. There's obviously famous ones like Whopper and NIDA and stuff, but there's other good acting schools too. What is the best tip someone has given you that has impacted your view on life? Oh, it's a really good question. I don't think there's one tip that someone's ever said to me that's really impacted me in that way that I could point to and be like, that's the most impactful thing. I think it's always been people who've encouraged me to do what I want to do, or people that have encouraged me to do things that I'm passionate about, or people have pointed out things that I'm good at that I've enjoyed and been like, hey, I can actually do this as a job or a passion. I think you'll find that people who encourage you to do what you like, or people that encourage you to do things that you love, that's the most impactful thing. Would doing theatre help to get scouted from an agent? Yeah, potentially, young man. Just depends where you're going and whereabouts in the country you are and what sort of agents are around. But I'm sure agents do go and see like theatre showcases and things like that. People who go to drama school or theatre schools, I'm sure they have showcases at some point and you could get agents that way. Lola, how are you doing? I have to go now, but have a nice day. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Melissa. You have a good day too, or evening. How do you deal with imposter syndrome and self-doubt like obstacles? I think you have to remember that everyone feels like an imposter, even people who are experienced. Self-doubt is something you just have to get over in time, I think. But Eleni, everyone feels like an imposter, so don't worry about it. It sounds simple, but don't worry about it. That's the main thing. Do you know any good agencies in New Zealand? I have dealt with one agent or a couple of agents in New Zealand before, but I don't remember their names. Um, so I can't recommend one. No. London. Well, yeah, there's probably a ton of agents in London for theatre, young man. I'm impressed you pronounced my name correctly. You're one of a handful. Well, thank you, because sometimes it's confusing when your username is two names together. Lachlan, how are you doing? Yeah, sometimes it's hard when you're reading out usernames. I'm glad I pronounced it correctly. Justine, how are you doing? Juliet, how's it going? Any other questions, guys? Trish Talk, how you doing? And I did want to let you guys know that I will be getting around to the self-tape challenge that I posted out a few months ago. I've just been really busy, so I haven't been able to review it properly. Sorry, one final question. People other than yourself you recommend to listen to or books to read? Oh, for acting, Eleni, that's okay. You don't have to, it's not a bother. Um, I honestly don't keep track of like other people who talk about acting or people who talk about the industry in terms of what I'm talking about. So I can't really recommend people. Sorry. I just don't I don't consume their content. So I can't point to someone and say you should go follow them. But I know there are a bunch of people on TikTok and also elsewhere who do this sort of thing, who talk about self-tapes and auditions and stuff. What is the hardest thing about the industry? Just the competition, I would say. There's so much competition, which means there's a ton of rejection as an actor because you're auditioning for stuff that hundreds of other people audition for too. How do you get started in acting with no experience at all? Daya, you just start. You just start recording yourself and get in front of a camera as much as you possibly can and go from there. Like do little skits or do short films and record yourself doing self-tapes or audition scenes. And you just start by practicing. And the more you do something, like anything, the more you do it, the better you get, the more comfortable you feel. And it just snowballs from there. For a Kiwi, would moving countries help for getting jobs, etc.? Not necessarily. I think there'd be a ton of opportunities in New Zealand. You could carve out a great niche for yourself. In New Zealand, for sure. What's the best way to find auditions in Oz? There'll be a bunch of places like that have open casting calls. So just search for open casting calls to start off with, Eleni. And I'm sure Google will give you a whole bunch of websites to look at. Probably Star Now is still a thing. I haven't used Star Now for a long time. And the professional ones are called Showcast and Casting Networks, but they're for generally people who have agents. But if you want to get started just with no agent, just look for open casting calls and see what's out there. There might be like TV commercial auditions, things like that. Sammy, how's it going? Avia, could I send you my audition vid so you can tell me what I need to work on? Absolutely, yes. You can definitely send it to me. You can follow me on Instagram, send me a DM there, or you can send me an email. It's on my website, I think. What's your biggest tip to sound natural when acting? Violet, my biggest tip to sounding natural is to listen to what a normal conversation sounds like and the rhythm of a normal conversation and the volume of a normal conversation and just emulate that, because lots of people, when they're acting and the camera turns on and it's recording, they start to perform and project stuff like how it never would be in real life. So my biggest tip would be to observe real conversations and try and channel that Sometimes it's easier said than done, but try and channel how a normal flow of a conversation would be. And also observe what the other person's body language is like and realize that, hey, acting is not, there's a lot less eye contact in real life than there is in a general audition scene or something that you see on film. So incorporate those little things. Cool, I'm on it. No worries. Amy, how would you build a good resume without experience? Work on your own stuff. Whether that's you recording scenes from something else, or you're writing your own stuff, or working with friends, making short films, recording audition scenes that you like and enjoy and things that you've practiced. Basically, the most important thing I've told people to do is to have something to show to someone as part of your experience. Opportunities that I've got in the past and people have got in the past have come because you've got something to show somebody. So if you have like a clip of you acting, or a few clips of you acting that you really like and are proud of and are happy for people to see, that is just as good as a resume. Have you heard of Backstage? Yes, I have. You probably have. And yes, do you recommend it trying to find acting jobs? Yes. Backstage is still a good resource. Okay, thank you. No worries, Violet. How beneficial is it to network? It's important to network. Even you can do it virtually though, right? You can follow people who are decision makers on online, social media, like agents and casting directors and people like that, and just build up relationships with them slowly over time. So not just you like saying, hey, I'm an actor, but you becoming genuine fans of what they do and just knowing who they are and what they're doing at that particular time, like projects that they're working on, whatever. How much does appearance matter when it comes to casting? I don't think it matters as much as people think. It just depends what they're casting too. Appearance is something that just generally cast for television commercials, like people want to just cast someone off a look. But for other things, when you get to more advanced stuff in film and television, it's not so much about appearance. Avia, yes, you've tagged me. Are you trying to say that you've sent me something? Did you send me a link? No worries, Tara. It's sometimes obviously people want like a certain look for a certain role, right? That makes sense. But it's not the be-all, end-all. Plenty of actors have succeeded based on their talent alone. It's not just about looks. And thanks for the likes. I appreciate it. What is the biggest misconception about being an actor and getting into the industry? Biggest misconception? I think one of the biggest is that you have to be a good actor or be the best actor to get a role in something. Very, very rarely do you have to be the best, or are you judged on who is the best. It's about who is right for that particular role at that particular time. Because when you get to the point of casting something, everyone's pretty good, right? Like you're all pretty good. So it's more about who's most suitable. And as soon as actors get out of that mindset of, okay, I have to be the best, or I'm trying to demonstrate that I can act the best here, that is when they succeed, because then they start to think about, okay, I'm going to build a character. What's the most unique character that I can build, and how do I put my own spin on this script, or what do I bring to this role? That's the most important thing. So one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to be the best, because you really don't. You have to be the most suitable, I think. And that's not something really you can You can guess. You just have to bring your own spin to it. Jade, yeah, you nailed it. So it's about suitability more than capability. 100%. Absolutely. Because when you get to a certain level, you've got auditioning. For example, think about it. For someone who is in my position, you've got hundreds of actors who are all with professional agents. They're all professional actors. They can all act. So how do you judge who's right for the role? It's definitely down to suitability more than capability, because everyone's capable. And when it comes down to getting an agent, it's also down to suitability too, because sometimes the agent will be looking for someone who's just like you. There's a lot of luck and timing involved in it too. So the sooner you start to figure out, okay, I have to make this character my own, and what do I bring to it, and how does my personality come through in this character on a consistent basis, that's how you get cast and stuff. Because then casting directors get a consistent picture of you, and they go, okay, they might not be right for this role, but they're perfect for this next thing, or this thing that I've got coming up, or I remember I saw this person do this audition and now I've got this role and they're perfect for it. How do I get an agent? Just do your research. Look around for agents who are in your area and start to, look if they've got open submissions and if you've got something to show them. But I would say the most important thing is to have a body of work to show them, to demonstrate what you can do. That's the best thing you can do to get an agent. Crystal, how's it going? Are you working on any projects at the moment? I'm actually not in casting at the moment. I am doing this stuff on social media to help with people with my experiences that I've got. I'm actually working in live television, so I work in a control room day to day, like my 9 to 5. It's not really 9 to 5, it's more like 11 till 8. Any tips on being able to balance auditions, acting, and work and uni? I know that's a specific thing. I think it's just carving out time, making sure you've got time to do auditions and acting stuff. And it doesn't have to be a ton of time. You can say, all right, I've got half an hour a day or an hour every couple of days to do an audition or to practice a scene or whatever. Just making sure that you're carving out time. Okay, thanks. Yeah, no worries. Good, that's good, Crystal. I hope you're well. Yeah, it's all about balancing, right? Making sure you have a little bit of time to do everything. And not stressing that you're not like putting heaps of time into it, as long as you're putting some time into it. That's the most important thing. It's the same with me doing this and like content stuff. I haven't had enough time to do it recently, and that sucks, but now I've got more time to do it. So I'm making sure that I have time to do it outside of my work. How important is it to get headshots and that sort of stuff? I think I've talked about this before, Lenny, but headshots are pretty overrated. Because you can take a pretty good headshot with your phone and get someone to take it for you, and with the editing software, you can make it look half professional. And it may not be like, you may get an agent and they may ask you to get a professional headshot. Fine, that's great. But for someone in casting, it's not really too important because headshots don't really say much. They're like a little trading card image to show like, this is this person. It doesn't really tell you much about that person. So when you're paying like heaps of money to get a headshot, probably not worth it because it doesn't get you anything. It doesn't get you a role because everyone's got a headshot. What's your opinion on being SAG versus FICOR? Crystal, I don't know too much about SAG and FICOR because I'm based in Australia and I don't know like the ins and out of the guild stuff. So I can't give you a solid opinion on SAG versus FICOR, and I haven't even heard of FICOR, honestly. But does that make sense, Lenny? Don't worry too much about headshots. You can get, I think someone was talking to me, I think Monica was talking to me about this in the past. Monica's a content creator here on TikTok, and she was talking about the girl in Never Have I Ever. And she was cast off her prom photo. She didn't even have a headshot. She was She wasn't cast off the photo, but that's the photo that she used to get the audition. So headshots pretty overrated. They're more for agents. They're more for agents to like fit you into their brand on their website or their other list of actors who all look very professional and serious. Okay, no stress. Yeah, sorry, Crystal. I'm sorry to not be of more help there. It does. Thank you so much for the advice. I really appreciate it. I hope the rest of the life. Oh, thank you. And thanks for the likes. I'm happy to help. Happy to answer the questions because that's what I'm here for. Heaven, how are you doing? And shout out to everyone else here. Avia, Letitia, Jade, Crystal's still here. Ellie and Nada. Any other questions I can help you guys with? And like I did mention, I will be getting back into doing more of the TikTok content and stuff and self-tape challenges, things like that, because I've been under the pump for the last little while moving house and stuff, so just haven't had the time, honestly. But I'm happy to get back into it. It's because I have been enjoying doing it. I auditioned for a play at my college and I used some tips you mentioned. Oh, awesome. Which tips did you use? And I'm glad that it transitions over to theatre, because lots of my tips are based around screen acting and film and television. So I'm interested to see what you used in terms of like a play and theatre on stage. Like what sort of stuff were you doing? I did a live the other day and someone was saying they got cast in something based off what I was talking about in some of my videos. So that was awesome. I mean, lots of people said that in the past, but it was nice to hear it again from someone who's done it recently. Elizabeth, how you doing? I use the positioning of the camera. Oh, so you're still doing it on screen. But it was for a play. But you had to do like a self-tape, like a screen audition. Yeah, I've had lots of people like audition for stuff, but they've had to do it at home, obviously, because they've been isolating or they've been in lockdown or whatever. Annabelle, acting school, yes or no? Honestly, it could be either, Annabelle. You can go to acting school and have a great time and have an intensive experience with a whole bunch of people who are learning acting all at the same time and form good relationships with people and have relationships that you build on over time, and once you've finished you keep acting with those people, and that's great. But you don't have to go to acting school. You could do self-tapes every day for the rest of your life and become an amazing actor. So it's really up to you and your individual preference. Yes, it was a self-tape. Avia, I just checked my emails and I've got your tape, so I'll watch it when I've got some time. No worries, Annabelle. I hope that helps. Letitia, I'm moving to LA this weekend. What tips would you advise on getting auditions for TVs, movies? You're moving to LA this weekend. That's very exciting. What tips would you advise on getting auditions? I think one of the most important things I've heard from people in LA is just to be open and network with people, because you'll find that there's people in the industry everywhere. Like literally everyone in LA is in the film and TV industry. So you won't find it too hard to get involved in some way, but it's important to be open and figure out, okay, there's people here that can help me, or at least know, like give me some tips. It's like having boots on the ground basically and figuring out what's going on around me. And then once you get those auditions, maybe look at some of my videos and other people's videos and things that you can utilize to like kind of put a different spin on your audition to make it stand out from the crowd. B, how can you become an actor without any experience? Practice at home. Practice in front of a camera as much as possible, whether it's your phone or your own camera that you've got or whatever setup you have. The most important thing to becoming an actor is to just practice acting as much as you can. Which is the same as most things, right? Practice. Favorite monologue? I don't have a favorite monologue, Annabelle. I probably don't know enough monologues, honestly, to point to one and say that's my favorite. And I haven't studied acting myself personally, so that's probably why. Do you think it's harder to practice? Do you think it's harder to break into the Oz acting scene, wow, than overseas? No, I don't think it's harder. Because it's competitive everywhere. Like if you went to the UK, it would be just as competitive. If you went to the US, I'm sure it would be just as competitive. So no, I don't think it's harder. I think you'll always find competition wherever you go. I think it's more about how you position yourself and your unique personality or suitability, like we were talking about, for specific things. Some people like to talk about it and call it a brand of what your acting style is or who you are as a person. Sometimes that helps to get you into the industry and figure out, okay, this is what I'm good at. For example, I'm really good at this specific type of comedy, or I'm really good in this genre or that genre. That helps to know. But I would say trying to position yourself as a jack of all trades kind of person who can play any role is probably not the best, because then it makes it harder for people to position you, like casting directors and people like that, agents. Annabelle, favorite film? Oh, I have lots of favorite films. I don't think I could point to one. I'm a big fan of like the 1970s sort of American films, that new wave Hollywood time, where those certain directors like Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola were all just coming through, and they were kind of making films that were very different of the time and very influential for modern day filmmakers too. What's your favorite film director? Yeah, makes sense. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, no worries, Jade. Honestly, I've been watching the series. I'm a bit behind, but it's a documentary series called The Directors, where they do a specific episode on each director, or one director every episode. That's been fun. I don't have a favorite, like I said, I don't have a favorite film, and I don't have a favorite director, honestly, because there's just too many. Like, I love films of all different genres and from different directors too. Jessica, should you get an agent or manager first, even before you start auditioning for things? Potentially, if it depends what's that series on. I think in Australia it's on the streaming service Binge, but I don't know where it is. Who actually made it, or where it would be in wherever you are. Where are you from, Annabelle? The Directors, it's called a TV series, and I think it's a UK series. Jessica, I will answer your question. I'm trying to look up who produced it. It looks like it's on Sky. Australia, Binge. It's on Binge. Yep. I think there's a couple of seasons on there. Jessica, so should you get an agent or manager first before you start auditioning? You don't have to. You don't have to. I think it's important when you're moving towards getting an agent or a manager, it's important for you to have something to show. It's important to have that body of work that I was talking about that you've built up over time. And you can have an education, you can have a background in drama or acting, whatever. You could have been to drama school, that's great. But if you haven't, not a big deal. Eden, how long? Oh, sorry, and Avia, what's the difference between a manager and agent? I think managers are more US kind of deal. Agents are people who help you book auditions. Managers are people who manage your career long term, I'm pretty sure. How long does it usually take you to hear from a film that you've auditioned for? That's totally dependent on the film, Eden, and when they're looking to cast something. It might be weeks, could be months, could be a couple of days. It really just depends. But yeah, Annabelle, that I've been really enjoying just picking like one director and just watching the full episode and realizing that there's so many different films from those people I haven't seen. Like I watched the Peter Weir one, the famous Australian director. There was a whole bunch of Aussie films that I never realized that he'd done or never really paid attention to. And I was like, oh wow, because I know his American films are more popular, more well known, like Dead Poets Society and Witness and Truman Show and stuff. But I didn't realize how many Aussie films he'd done as well. It's a feature film. Okay, it really just depends on when they're looking to cast someone, right? So I wouldn't say there's a specific time that you should wait. Believe, how should actors prepare to book a role? To book a role or to audition? Because it's kind of different. If you're aiming to book a role, like obviously everyone who auditions wants to book a role. Are you talking about the audition specifically, or are you asking like, how do I stand out enough to book a role? And some of my videos on my page might be able to help you with that, Believe. Okay, thank you. Yeah, no worries, Ian. I would, like I said, don't worry too much about the time because it's very dependent on the production and who's working on it and how like snowed under they are, basically, because they could be really busy. Yeah, I was just wondering. Yeah, that makes sense. Totally. Like I said, there's no specific like standard time. I'm from Wales, so would my Welsh accent take me a disadvantage in acting? No, not necessarily. Sometimes accents are to your benefit, right? Because productions could be looking for someone who has a specific Welsh accent and you could stand out. So definitely not. Lots of great Welsh actors. Should I travel to America for more opportunities? That depends whether you actually want to go live in America too. I wouldn't recommend just going there just for more opportunities because there could be opportunities wherever you are. And like obviously America's got a big industry, but there's also lots of competition and you could stand out wherever you are. Thank you so much. I'll check out the videos on your page. Yeah, no worries. Like they're pretty good in terms of standing out in an audition context. Is that Welsh? Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Literally, just Google. I'm going to do it right now. Famous Welsh actors. Okay, there's a ton. There's so many. There's so many. So don't worry about it too much. And they do have Welsh accents too, so... I have another question. What is the director usually looking for in an audition? Usually they're looking for the character that's on the page. Like I was saying before, earlier, if you weren't here, it's suitability over ability. They're usually looking for someone who fits into the role of the character rather than the best actor. They're looking for someone they think they can work with and turn into the character that's on the page, basically. Definitely not looking for the best actor. Unless it's a really small talent pool, and then they might be looking for the best actor. No worries, Eden. I'm too old to stop. Am I too old to stop pursuing acting? Absolutely not. Definitely not. It's never too late, but 16, no way. How does an individual's attractiveness contribute to success? Someone was asking me this before. Casting is not really, in some levels, casting is not really based on looks so much. Maybe for television commercials, things like that. And sure, if you're absolutely stunning, it could contribute to some of your success. But when you get to a certain level, it's not really about looks. For callbacks, what are some tips? That's a good question. And Ethan, were you gone somewhere? I was away for a while, yes. I wasn't anywhere specifically, I was just busy. Okay, for callbacks, what are some tips? That's a really good question. Are you talking about callbacks in the room or like a chemistry test, or what sort of callbacks would you have in mind? Is it something where you're doing a self-tape? Maybe narrow it down for me. I can give you some tips on that. I figured, glad to hear it. Thanks, Ethan. Yeah, I was just super busy, honestly, and I ran out of steam and I couldn't get online as much. Really busy with work. I don't know if you know, like we've had lockdowns here and things like that, and been moving house. How to not get nervous to the point where you can barely function in the audition room. Honestly, I think the most important thing is to just let go of it and realize it's not that important. Letting go and realizing that it's not the be all end all if it all goes wrong, and that nerves are just completely normal. Like in person. Okay, so if you just treat it like a job interview, right? And go in and be really nice and punctual and just go in and do your best, do your thing, and just leave a good impression. Don't overburden yourself and push yourself out there too much. Just make good connections with people and then just leave like a good professional would do. You know, it's really funny. My first audition was for Netflix. Oh, awesome, Eden. That's great. Happy to hear that. It did not work. Exactly. So you're going to have a ton more auditions come your way too. So don't worry about it too much. How to not look awkward when you act. Practice. Just get in front of a camera all the time and then it'll become more natural to you. And you'll feel less and less awkward. Genuinely. You may feel awkward at the beginning, but the more you do it, the less awkward it will become. Yeah, so Eden, didn't work, that's fine. Then it wasn't the be all end all, was it? How do I make the transition from self-tapes to in-room auditions? I don't think there's too much of a difference, honestly. I think you could do lots of things and practice lots of things in your self-tapes that will translate to in the room too. Because at the end of the day, they're all just watching it on a screen anyway. You'll always be filmed by a camera, and you'll always be constrained by the frame. So lots of those things just translate from self-tapes to in the room too. How does finding agents work? Like, where do you look for them? How do you get one? Research. I think a lot of it is researching the agents in your area, where you are. Finding actors that you know who are local and finding out who their agents are. What do I do if I can't get a reader for my self-tapes? A couple of things you can do is you can have them do it virtually, so you can have someone phone or be on FaceTime, or you can record the lines yourself and play them back, like on another device. I think it's important for you to react to the lines no matter what, and it could be yourself reading it, it could be a friend or family member, and they don't have to physically be there. So just use what's at your disposal, use technology. And yeah, that's what you should do if you don't have a reader to be there with you. And plan it. Finding agents, like I was saying before, is you have to have stuff to show to them. You have to have a body of work, things that they can actually watch. Stephen, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Why is it that I act better when I'm alone than in front of people? That's just nerves. That's just you feeling self-conscious. And that's okay. That's totally normal. It's just practice. Is it worth auditioning, applying for a role you don't fit the character description for? It just depends. Like, you've got to judge it on an individual basis. You really think that if you still think you're suitable for it, absolutely go for it. Hey man, I haven't seen you on socials. I know, yeah, Stephen, I was just saying to people, I have been really busy. I've been moving house and had work and sickness. Just haven't been able to get online, and I just fell off. And now I'm getting back on the content bandwagon. So good to see you, and I hope you're doing well. I hope the auditions have been going well. I've been noticing some of your stuff online, and I haven't had too much chance to watch it all, but I'm glad to see that you're acting your heart out. It's great. What if I'm completely new to acting? How would I be able to show the agent anything? You may not be ready for an agent. If you're completely new, just take some time. Take a year or two, and you don't have to rush to get an agent. It's not a race. You can totally just take your time and build up a body of work and then go for an agent. For my reel, if I have a bunch of clips from stuff I've been in, but I'm not satisfied with any of it, should I record some self-tapes from my reel? I think that would be a good option. It's definitely good to have some self-tapes to show as well, if you're not happy with the reel so much. Having some great self-tapes to show to an agent or a manager or whoever is definitely to your benefit, because then it makes them feel confident that you'll be able to do a good audition tape if you're asked to do one. I'm sure Stephen would agree. Where do I find work without an agent? Open casting calls. Search for open casting calls and plan it. If you're 16, you're just starting out acting, don't rush. There's no rush to go out and find work, professional work. Just build up experience. If you're feeling awkward, you're feeling like you get nervous when you're in front of people or on the screen, just practice. Do it over time. Absolutely no rush. You're definitely not too late. What do you think acting from inside out means? I definitely think it means thinking internally and not projecting. So lots of people, when they're talking about inside out, it's that if you're feeling it, people will see it. Acting from the outside is projecting your emotions and wearing your heart on your sleeve, which not many people do in real life. That's what that means. Guys, I have to head off very shortly because I've got to go to work. It's another thing that's been keeping me off this, but thank you so much for hanging out. And if you've got any other questions, let me know and I'll answer them as best I can. And then I'll have to head off, unfortunately. But thanks for spending the time. It's good to see you guys. How often do you go live? I've been live twice this week so far, so I'm hoping to do it at least once a week and hopefully twice. Thank you so much, help. No worries. It's nice to get back on. I enjoy speaking with people in a live context. So no worries, Jade. I'm happy to be here. I really do enjoy it. And I will be getting around to doing that self-tape challenge review. I've just got to have a good chunk of time to do it. Thank you. Thanks, Jade. I hope you have a good day too. I hope everyone has a good day. And I will speak to you all very soon. I'll be back on live again. I'll be posting some more videos. And I'll be back on the social, Stephen. So I'll see you there. But thanks, guys. Take it easy. Have a good day. And I'll speak to you all soon.